We're Soviet and Russia, we have to mount up on our tanks. We have Russian T-72. All right, guys, in all seriousness though, I don't think Russian tanks are meant for people of my size, because I mean, I'm standing next to the thing right now, and from the stats I've looked at, it's only 7'4" high, which is less than a foot taller than me. So I don't think they had tall people in mind for Russian tanks. But with that, we're gonna get into the review, you guys. All right, guys, so we are here at Cougar Squadron headquarters, looking at a captured Soviet T-72 tank that was actually a part of the Battle of 73 Easting that I mentioned in my previous videos. So with that, you guys, we're gonna get into the review. Alright, you guys, get into the history of this big behemoth Russian tank. So, they started experimenting in early production in 1971, but they officially started being in service in 1973. So what we're looking at here is a version of a captured Iraqi Russian T-72 from the Battle of 73. Alright guys, so we'll get more into the history of this tank. What we're looking at here is a Russian tank built in the 70s that was used in numerous conflicts throughout the... Alright, so the main big history chunk of this vehicle was in the Battle of 73 Easting. These were captured and sold off to the Iraqis when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait and Iraq. So this is when a big chunk of these were used, was during that conflict. They were used throughout the 80s and the 70s by the Russians, and also in several civil war conflicts in the Middle East, Libya, Syria, such as that. So with that, that pretty much covers the history. There's not a lot of conflicts where it's gone up against our tanks, let's say, but it's definitely seen its share in civil wars and history. So with that, we'll get into the tour of the vehicle. All right, getting into the tour of the front of the vehicle here, you guys. You see, you got your bush guards here for your front headlights. Bush guards are here, and a big blackout marker up here on the front headlight. So this is where those would be. You have your turret, your 125 millimeter smoothbore gun, a IR scope or a infrared spotlight scope, and smoke grenade launchers up here on the turret. We'll get more into that when we get onto the turret. But so this armor is sloped at 200 millimeters, giving it an effective thickness of actually 500 to 600 millimeters. So originally, like the 200 millimeters, that's equivalent to like 8 inches of armor, which is pretty tough. And it's meant, obviously, it is sloped to deflect rounds. The turret was just like the thickness on the M60, 280 millimeters, equivalent to 11 inches of armor, so of steel. And then updated models of the T-72 have the composite and ERA armor or explosive reactive armor. And if you take a look on the front here, you can actually see some of the original markings. Not sure what that says, but I'm pretty sure it's in Arabic or something like that, and we'll translate to something. So let me know if you guys can translate that on your own. So you got your front fenders as well over here, both fenders, the driver's position up here, and obviously your front plate and the front tracks, obviously protected by the fenders here. So with that, we'll hop up onto the turret. All right, so hopping up onto the tank here, you guys. We're looking at the driver's hatch right here. So this is where the driver would be. His vision periscope's right here. The big highlight of this guy right here, obviously the 125 millimeter smoothbore gun. Pretty big gun. You have your IR spotlight here, or your infrared spotlight. Then you have 81 millimeter smoke grenade launchers on here that were meant to be discharged from the inside for screening and coverage of the vehicle. Also looking here by the infrared spotlight in the turret, you can see where the coax 7.62 peak machine gun would be. It would actually be right in here, and you can usually go inside the turret from there. So you can get a shot of that, and that would feed into where the commander would sit. So with that, we're gonna hop on top of the turret, you guys. We'll go into that. All right, so hopping onto the top of the turret, you guys, right here, we are sitting, well, I'm standing where the commander would be. So this is the commander's hatch right here, and he has his mount for the Dushka 51 caliber machine gun. Right here is a little elevation pedestal device, so they can kind of like mills, kind of like, because some, with the 50 cal, it has the range of about 2-3 miles, so you could actually indirect fire with it, but it's meant for anti-air and anti-infantry. So that's what this is here for. And you actually look inside here where the belt would be fed for the machine gun. You see right here, you have the commander's viewports right here, also for ventilation. Where the cameraman is standing, I'll point it out to you, is where the gunner's hatch would be. So the gunner would have his spotlight scope right here, and his IR devices will be fed in through the spotlight, and here his gunner targeting acquisition systems would be in here. So moving into the back a little bit right here, you got a stowage bustle right here, which is meant for storage, storing the gear and all that stuff. You have the commo antenna right here for radio communications. And fun fact about this tank's actually an autoloader, so that's why there's no loader in the system. Cameraman, bring it over here. You actually see the hatch where the 125 millimeter casings would eject. If you can zoom in on that, that's where the shells would eject from. You see that up there? So that is. Then if you come over here, I believe what this is for is actually the snorkel system, because this tank was meant to drive not necessarily underwater, but in deep water. So they'd have a snorkel system coming up through here so the crew wouldn't suffocate and stuff on the inside. You see the smoke grenade launchers on the side, as we mentioned earlier. These are 81 millimeter smoke grenade launchers. So that pretty much covers the turret, you guys. With that, we'll hop into the side profile of the vehicle. All right, so getting into the side profile of the vehicles, you have your torsion bar suspension system with your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 road wheels. The drive sprocket is actually in the back. So the drive sprocket is in the back, and then you have your forward assist wheel. And I believe if you look underneath, you get up in there, there are extra bogies for to help with the track moving. You can also see one of the original markings too on here as well. Some kind of marking for, I believe, one of the Iraqi tank divisions or something like that was used. So with that, that covers the side of the vehicle. We'll get into the back of the vehicle, guys. One of the big things that's obviously prominent on the back of the vehicle is you have these giant fuel jugs back here for extra fuel storage and oil storage. You have your rear marker lights back here. I believe this is where they would go. Your rear fenders, tracks, and access to the engine. The engine was a V12 engine. Originally, the original T-72, which is pretty much what this version is, would be a V12 engine that had 780 horsepower, but it could go up to, I believe it was 1130 on updated models. And you come in over here, you can see where the exhaust from the engine and everything will come out, and then your engine deck. So that pretty much covers it for the back, you guys. With that, we will hop into the close out of this video. All right, guys, I want to say thank you for tuning into episode 5 of Tank Chats. Today we went over the T-72, beautiful horsepower of the Soviet Union, and actually a variant. This tank was actually captured during the Battle of 73. So a lot of history in this vehicle particularly. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode.